Welcome to the audiobook One Night Stand with My Enemy, written by Jeanre, narrated by Bertha. Chapter 1. Glenn. 4 years ago, I promised him I would be standing beside him on his happiest day, never thinking I wouldn't be the one standing beside him. Now I am walking up the steps to the church, ready to watch him marry someone else. A promise is a promise. My heart is beating fast, raging against my chest about how wrong this is. I look at Luke, begging he would see me, really see me, and that by some miracle this would stop, that he would realize that I have been here, wishing he would look at me the way he is looking at his bride-to-be. But that is selfish, and just as wrong as me standing here, flowers in my hands, in a beautiful dress, probably the most beautiful dress that I have ever worn, while I watch him cry tears of joy as he watches his bride walk down the aisle. I force my smile to stay in place while my heart shatters, try to force my breathing to stay even while my lungs try to close up. Just look at me. I want to beg him, but he doesn't turn his eyes away from the woman of his dreams, the woman that isn't me. My dress feels like a snake around my body, squeezing until I can't breathe. It doesn't matter how much I beg for this to not happen, for him to not be standing right next to me, telling another woman how he will be there for her in sickness and in health. Nothing will stop this nightmare from happening. No matter how hard I pinch my arm, believe me, I have tried. The blue and purple marks are proof of just how hard I have tried. "You may kiss the bride," the priest announces, and my world falls apart while his stars align. I stand there and watch as he pulls her into his arms that had been wrapped around me through my darkest times, that held me when we danced on our prom night, that had been open wide when I came home from my 3 years at Oxford University, only for me to realize that those arms will never be there for me again, because they will now and forevermore be wrapped around the beautiful Abigail, the woman he found while I wasn't there to fill that void. As soon as everyone leaves the church to wait for the happy couple to sign the documents, I leave, not waiting for them to walk out of the church hand in hand. I've done my duty. I was here like I had promised. I had stood by his side, and I had pretended to be happy for him, the way that was expected of me. But I need to leave now, before everyone realizes that I am nothing but a fraud. "Leaving so soon?" I hate that voice. I have hated that voice since the day I first heard it. It is not that he has a bad voice. On the contrary, his voice could get most women to drop their pants and spread their legs after 2 words, and that is about the maximum most women get out of him from what I have heard. Well, aside from me. I seem to get all his damn words, and all of them are meant to strike me down. I try to force my tears back, refusing to let him see me cry on a day that should be celebrated. Once I think I have my face in a mask of utter joy, I turn to face Gareth Martins, the thorn in my side that just doesn't seem to go away, also known as Luke's best friend. "I got a call from my mom. She needs me," I tell him, knowing that bringing up my mom usually gets me out of places I don't want to be. My mother has stage 4 brain cancer, and even though we have a nurse on the clock day and night, my mother always pushes on my button whenever she needs help. I don't mind, seeing as I have so little time with her left. I always come running when she calls. "Aren't you getting tired of using that excuse?" The fucking bastard has the audacity to fucking smirk at me. You know, the first time I saw him, my jaw nearly dropped to the floor, and I am certain I had drool running down my chin. But then the fucker opened his mouth, and any sudden attraction I felt towards him was gone. He is still gorgeous, sculpted like a Greek god with his dark brown hair and light blue eyes, sharp jaw and straight nose. The small scar over his eyebrows should take away from some of his beauty, but instead it just adds to it. That little flaw mixed with the permanent judgment in his eyes and his constant frown makes him untouchable, and because of that, so much more desirable. Don't even get me started on his body. Tall and muscular, yet not over the top. Crush you in a single hug kind of muscular. Against my 5'2", he is a fucking giant with his 7'3". Excuse me? Like I said, this man has far too many words for me, and I would love for him to choke on it.
You heard me loud and clear, sweetheart,
he says, looking bored with this conversation, one that he started. You know what? I really don't have the time or the energy for you or your stupid games. Just do me a favor and go fuck yourself, I tell him, turning on my heel, ready to get the fuck out of here. But I miss the step, and my heart sinks faster than my body. I suck in a breath, trying to turn my body in hopes that I can protect my head from hitting the concrete, but I never touch the ground. Warm hands wrap around my elbow with a hard tuck. I smash into a hard chest. His scent surrounds me for a moment. I forget that he is a complete jackass, because holy hell, he smells so good.
When you try to make a dramatic exit, watch where the hell you are walking. Otherwise, you are bound to make a fool out of yourself.
His harsh words pull me back to reality, and I quickly push away from him, but he pulls me back in.
For fuck's sake, the stairs are still right behind you. Is your head really so messed up about a man that never fucking deserved you that you can't remember that you were about to fall off the damn stairs that are still very much behind you 2 seconds ago?
Who the hell do you think you are? I ask him, trying to look up at him, but I have to nearly break my neck to look up at him while he is this close to me.
I am the guy that is trying to stop you from making a fool out of yourself. Stop running away and face the fact that he will never love you as anything more than a friend. You don't think that he doesn't know that you have feelings for him? That he doesn't know that you have been pining after him for almost of your damn life? He finds comfort in you, but nothing else. You will always be his geek friend that fed his comic book addiction and laughed at his stupid jokes. The one that was there when he needed to feel needed. That is all you will ever be to him.
Fuck, that hurts. I thought I was hiding my feelings pretty damn well, but if Gareth knows how I feel, then so does Luke. But why didn't he ever say anything about it? Get the fuck off me, I say through clenched teeth.
Go cry, then wipe your tears off, Gwyneth. Just don't cry too much, because the last thing you want to look like is a wreck. When you are done, come and find me and we will show him what he lost.
His words shock the hell out of me, and for a moment I don't move. Gareth steps back, straightening his tux, and then walks down the stairs to the waiting crowd like nothing happened. Thanks to my shock, all I can do is follow him. My need to cry is long gone as I wait with everyone else for the bride and groom to step out of the church. Chapter 2. Gareth.
I don't know why I even bothered to try to calm her down, or why I felt the need to. Gwyneth is a pain in my ass. Has been since the day she arrived back in the States after spending 3 years at Oxford. Apparently, she was too good for Stanford and had to run off to a different state to prove something. What she proved, I honestly don't know. The only thing that happened in the time she was gone is that Luke had time for someone else other than his precious Gwyn. I met Luke on our first day at Stanford, both of us late for our introduction meeting. We snuck in together and then bonded over the fact that neither of us were ever on time for anything. I liked to sleep late, and Luke just didn't have any sense of time. It is a miracle he is on time for his own wedding, but I guess that has a lot to do with Gwyneth, who was always on time, and she was put in charge of getting him here. I hate to say it, but I'm a little disappointed that she didn't purposely screw up and make him late, seeing as she had been hung up on him for years, and having him married crushes every dream she ever had of being with him. It just goes to show how damn selfish she is. It is one of the biggest reasons I can't stand her. Gwyneth is the perfect picture of fucking Mother Mary. She's gracious and caring, always looks out for everyone else's happiness before her own. I've never heard her swear out loud until an hour ago, and that just goes to show how distraught she is by Luke getting married. The only person she looks at with distaste is me. She is everything I am not, and that is why I can't stand to be in the same room as her for longer than 5 minutes without trying to get a rise out of her. She has to have the flaw, or something that makes her crack, and I plan on finding it.
Care to dance?
Hella, Luke's personal assistant asks me. Why the hell was she even invited to the wedding is a mystery to me. She hasn't been working for Luke long enough to be attending his wedding, but as she had helped plan most of it, she was giving an invitation, as if she wasn't just doing her damn job. I don't mix business and pleasure, I've told you that before. Try one more time to get me to touch you, and I will have you fired faster than you can spread your fucking legs. I say it only loud enough for her to hear. She sucks in a breath at my crude words, as if she expected anything else from me. She should know better after I turned her down the first 4 times she tried hitting on me. She knows she is beautiful, and most men would fall over their feet to get a chance to get between her legs, but that is about as far as it goes. She is the type of woman that tries to seduce wealthy men, and the second one lays a hand on her, she will use it against them, forcing the man to either part with a big chunk of his money, or she will try her best to ruin their reputation. I, for one, will not fall for it.
You are a hateful man, and I can't wait to see the day a woman gets to walk all over you,
she says, stomping her foot like a child before walking away. She will be long gone before the day comes where I will give a woman the opportunity to hurt me.
Well, that went well,
Gwen says from beside me. I knew she was close, knew it like I knew every time she walked into a room. It is like her sunshine pushed against my darkness, and there was just enough room for the both of us in one place. Glad to see you got over your pity party, I tell her, keeping my eyes on the dance floor instead of turning to look at her like I'm dying to do.
Not quite sure if I'm over it yet, but you were right.
Now it is impossible not to look at her. Did she just say I was right? About what part exactly was I right about? I ask her, taking in her expressive green eyes and her soft pouting lips. Her eyes are still slightly red from crying, and I don't know why I have the urge to beat the shit out of Luke for not even caring that he is hurting her. Fucker probably doesn't even know that she has feelings for him.
You were right about the fact that I was using my mother as an excuse. And the last thing Luke needs from me is to be a wreck on the happiest day of his life.
So damn selfless. I didn't want her to be the face of pure happiness for him. I wanted her to show him that he didn't matter for her sake. But of course, she thought I wanted her to pretend a little longer for him.
Your offer for a dance still on the table?
She asks, shocking me again. I never offered to dance with you. I just said to come find me. That way you don't have to stand and pretend to enjoy this version of hell, I tell her. But honestly, my hands are itching to pull her closer, to press her against me as I sweep her over the dance floor. But I feel like I will be crossing a line that I will never be able to cross back from.
Of course. Silly me to think that you would even consider putting your hands on me,
she says, and once again I am speechless. Gwen looks down at her hands, and instead of giving her a reply like I probably should, I take her in. Her dress looks like a second layer of skin, showing off every curve and leaving very little to the imagination. Where she is usually dressed in clothes that cover her up, tonight she stepped out of her comfort zone and dressed to impress. Or maybe that was Abigail's idea, and Gwen was too fucking nice to say no. The green silk of the dress moves with her, and I am surprised by the amount of jealousy I feel for a piece of material. Her breasts are hardly contained by the dress, and my mouth waters for a taste, my mind wondering about the color of her nipples. Fuck, I shouldn't be thinking about her like this. Gwen is off limits. Even if she didn't annoy the living hell out of me, she would still be off limits. Fuck, for all I know, she is very much still a virgin, having saved herself for a man that will never see her as more than a friend.
Look, I know you wouldn't want to be caught dead with a woman like me on your arm, but can you just, for once, just stop being a complete jerk and just dance with me? I promise not to step on your toes.
She looks up at me, again, fear and determination shining in her eyes. She's afraid of rejection, but she is determined to get out of her shell, finally. I'm not sure why you would think I wouldn't want a woman like you on my arm. If anything, every man here is probably fantasizing about having you pressed up against them, but not having the balls to come up and ask you for a dance. I told her, holding my hand out to her. She looks down at my hand as if she didn't expect me to actually say yes.
Are you one of them?
She asks before taking my hand. One of whom? I ask, for a moment stunned at how right her hand feels in mine. Maybe I had one too many drinks tonight.
One of those men fantasizing about me.
You have no fucking idea. You are not ready for half of the things I want to do to you, I said under my breath, hoping she didn't hear me, but the widening of her eyes tells me that she heard exactly what I said. Don't start something you are not ready for. I am not the guy to give yourself to in the hopes of having more than just a few mind-blowing orgasms. I am the kind of guy to fucking leave, and you are way too fucking good for that. It is official. I had far too much to drink. There is no other excuse for even thinking about her as more than an annoying goody two-shoes, for having a hard-on from simply holding her fucking hand like some teenage boy touching his crush for the first time. Fuck, this dance was a bad idea.
Chapter 3. Gwen. As we walk onto the dance floor, Gareth pulls me closer to him, wrapping one arm around my middle and holding my other hand in his. I hardly hear the music, but he moves us to what I assume is the beat. But really, if you asked me what song was playing, I wouldn't be able to tell you. The only beat I hear is the one of my heart trying to make it out of my chest, and the one between my legs.
You're not ready for half of the things I want to do to you.
Those are the lyrics to go along with the beat my body is creating. I'm not sure if he is pulling my leg or if he is really fantasizing about me. But either way, those words, along with the 2 drinks I had, that helped build up the courage it took to approach him, are enough to have my knees weak and my pussy soaked.
You're thinking about it, aren't you?
His mouth is right next to my ear. I can feel the vibrations of his voice all the way down to my toes, and I have to resist the urge to curl them.
Tell me, if I were to pull you into a dark corner right now and lift your dress, slip my fingers past your underwear, would you be wet for me?
Holy fucking shit. I get it. I truly get why girls drop down and open wide for him after a few simple words. You won't have to slip your fingers past my underwear, I say, and I feel his body lock up in surprise, and that makes me brave. I don't have any on. Gareth flatters a step, but quickly rights himself.
You're playing with fire, Gwyneth. Are you ready to get burned?
He asks, and I can't help but laugh. I am already on fire, Gareth. The words were barely out of my mouth before his lips slammed into mine. It feels like my entire world tilts on its axis, and everything around us disappears. Nothing exists past his lips, on mine, and his arm pulling me tightly against him. My feet are barely touching the ground as I try to pull him closer to me. He nips at my bottom lip, and I gasp at the sharp pain. Gareth uses my surprise to push his tongue past my lips, and I moan, literally moan, at the taste of scotch and mint on his tongue. My knees go weak, and if it wasn't for his arms tightening around me into nearly a painful grip, I would have been flat on my ass.
What the fuck are you doing?
Luke. That is Luke talking. The man I have been in love with for as long as I can remember. Yet I couldn't care less that he is seeing me kiss another man. All I care about is the fact that Gareth is pulling away, and all I want to do is follow, not ready for this to end. His hold relaxes on me, but he doesn't let go, and I'm thankful for that because I don't think I will be able to stand on my own. My head feels like it is in a fog, and I don't want it to clear. I don't want to face reality. I put my head on Gareth's chest, turning myself into his side, and keep myself as small as possible.
You can have anyone in this room and you decide to seduce the one woman that you know is too good for you?
What the hell? Gareth begins to reply, but I start talking before he can, turning to face my best friend. Too good for him? What the hell is wrong with you? Gareth is a successful man that has every quality any full-blooded woman would be looking for. If anything, he is too bloody good for me, and you are being a full-blown ass in front of your entire wedding party. What has gotten into you? I ask him.
What has gotten into me? You couldn't stand being in the same room with each other for longer than 5 minutes before having some one or another argument, and now you are standing here, sucking face in front of everyone?
He does have a point, but to make a scene like this is a step too far. Look, I don't get to finish, because Gareth pulls on my arm, turning me to face him.
Gwyneth, just stop. I don't need you to stand up for me, and neither of us need to explain ourselves. We had a bit too much to drink, so maybe we should just walk this off.
Too much to drink? Is he blaming this on the alcohol? Are you telling me you are drunk, and you think that is the reason you kissed me? I ask him, furious that I even thought for a second he was a decent guy.
Are you telling me that you don't think you are in my arms because I am the second best option when you couldn't have Luke?
He asks, and I second a breath. Just 2 seconds ago I was defending him. Now I don't know why I even bothered. He just spilled my deepest secret to Luke, one I had kept under wraps for years.
What is he talking about, Gwen?
Luke asks, looking stunned at what Gareth said. Abigail is standing behind Luke, a hand over her mouth. I look around the room, seeing everyone staring at me, some with shock, some with pity, and some with anger. Nothing, he is just drunk. clearly seeing as even he stopped his low to kiss me and was trying to get the attention off himself and focus on me. I am sorry if I ruined your night by believing for a second that Gareth was a decent human being, I tell him, and then try to turn my back on everyone, holding my head high as I make my way out of the room, refusing to let them see how hurt I am. For a second time tonight, I am in tears and I am done. I will no longer hope for a future with Luke. I will no longer even bother with Gareth. And I will no longer be a doormat for people to walk over. Gwen, wait! I closed my eyes, for a moment considering not stopping. But Luke has always had a hold on me, and I promise myself that this will be the last time I will stop and wait for him. Gwen, what Gareth said in there, is it really true? He asks when he catches up to me. I turn to face him, knowing that I need to tell him the truth, while also knowing there is nothing to be done about it. If the ring on his finger doesn't scream too late, then I don't know what will. Yes, Luke, what he said was true. At least the part about me being in love with you for years, not the part about using him because I couldn't have you. He looks shocked at my admission, and for a moment, we just stand there and look at each other. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, breathing in silence. Because I thought you knew. Or, at first I did. And then I went to London and you started getting quieter by the day. I didn't think much of it because I knew you would have told me if you had found someone, and I was naive enough to believe that you would be waiting for me. But then I came back and I found out you were with Abigail, and I realized that you never knew how I felt and that you never felt the same, and that is all right. But I need to move on now and find a way to cope with my new reality, so if you don't mind letting me go, I would really appreciate it, I tell him, and then turn and walk away, not waiting for him to reply. He doesn't follow me, either too shocked or just not interested, and I honestly couldn't tell you which one hurt more. Chapter 4. Gwen. 6 months later.
Are you ready for this?
Candy, my colleague, asks as I put on my slutty nurse outfit and do the last few touches on my makeup. As ready as I will ever be, I answer, trying to focus on anything but what I'm about to do. I sit down and put my heels on, hoping for the life of me that I don't break a leg on the stage tonight. Tonight will be my first solo show, and to say my knees are shaking is an understatement.
You are going to rock it, Melody,
she says, and I hope she is right. If you haven't noticed by the idiotic and corny names, I am at a strip club, about to shake my ass and take off my clothes for a bunch of horny men who are willing to throw away their money for a bit of a tease. Silly, really, but this is the life I chose. I know you're probably wondering why the hell I would choose this. Well, it is simple, really. All my life I was the sweet girl, the one whose excellent grades and perfectly innocent personality, and after I walked out of Luke's wedding, I was sick of it. So what better way to show the world I am not just an innocent little girl that has to be protected from the bad boys and all the horrors of the world? I became a stripper, desired by many, but they will never be able to touch me. Well, unless I say they can. But no man has ever made me want their hands on me, at least not since that night. You're on, Melody! Sweetie Pie, our mother at the club, shouts from the door leading into the dressing room. Time to get going. I walk out of the dressing room taking a few calming breaths, fixing the wig on my head that is supposed to help protect my identity, before stepping onto the dark stage. I have memorized every step, every move of my hips, every inch of the stage. I will make these men beg for me, and then I will leave them all behind, just like I was. When the song starts and the spotlight focuses on me, I let my body take over. I move my hips to the beat, feeling every note vibrate through my blood. One step in front of the other, I make my way to the pole in the center of the stage. I look around the room, not really seeing anyone, but knowing that they love the attention. I go through my routine, pieces of clothing dropping to the floor until I am nothing but my heels and a piece of small lace that covers the part the men in here go crazy for, even if they know they won't ever get a taste. By the time I am done and the song ends, the crowd goes crazy, begging for another song, but I bow and then collect my clothes off the stage, making a show of it, and then I head back to the dressing room. You fucking nailed it, Melody, Cookie says as I walk back into the dressing room.
I am still finding it hard to believe that you are the virgin of the group, because damn, girl, you move those hips as if you know exactly what the men want.
Cookie, we both know that men aren't that complicated. All they want is a show, see a bit of skin, and they are begging for more. Sway your hips and touch what they know they can't have, and you have them at the edge of their seats, I tell her, as I take off my wig and let my red hair fall down my back. I hate the platinum white hair, but it is necessary to keep my life outside of the club, separate from the life I have created inside of it.
Melody, there is a gentleman that is requesting a private lap dance from you,
Sweetie Pie says from the door, and my body locks up. Not once since I started working here 4 months ago has anyone requested a private lap dance from me. To be honest, I was happy with working in the back, never singled out. But it seems like this first show alone is going to bring a lot of changes. Now I'm not so sure that I'm ready for it.
If you tell me now that you aren't ready for this, then we can wait. I mean, we waited 4 months for you to take that stage alone. I really don't want to scare you off now by putting too much on your plate, she says, but I can hear the hope in her voice. She is hoping that I will go into one of our private rooms and make this man throw around his cash. But even though it would mean a really nice paycheck for me at the end of the night, I hesitate. I don't need the money, not at all really. During the day I work at a law firm that pays me enough to pay my rent and everything else I might need to get by every month. But the money I make here has paid for every other luxury my heart has desired since walking out of my best friend's wedding. I live a very comfortable life, and I really should wait until I am a bit more prepared before taking on more than I can handle. If you don't mind getting me out of this one, I still have 2 more shows to do, and I'm not sure I can handle the pressure of a private show just yet, I tell her, and she gives a defeated sigh, but she doesn't push it. She just gives me a nod and then walks out of the room to tell the client to choose someone else. I try to focus on getting ready for my next show that will be in an hour from now, instead of wondering who had requested the lap dance. The club I work in, Chaos, is a strange name, I know, but it is one of the most respected strip clubs in California. Only men that have a 6-figure-year salary are allowed to enter the club, and they have background checks that are run before they set foot in the club. The women here are respected and can choose if they want to put on a show and how they want to do it. I have never been forced to show more than I was comfortable with. It is why I chose this club, and not just get my thrill anywhere. The door to the dressing room opens again, and Sweetie Pie sticks her head in, giving me a pained look. Baby, he put down triple the payment up front, saying he only wants you. If you tell me no, I will go out there and tell him that you refuse, but darling, I'm going to be honest. I really hope that you don't, she tells me, and I can't fault her for asking me again. I sit back and think about it, wondering if it could really be that bad. It will be a half an hour of dancing for some stranger, and then I can walk away with enough money to finally buy the car of my dreams. I sigh, and then I tell her to take him to the red room. If I was going to do my first private dance, it would be in the room of my choice. She doesn't ask me if I am sure, knowing I will probably change my mind if she gives me the option to back out. It takes me 5 minutes to get into a barely there black lingerie and stilettos, throw a gown on to cover up most of my body, place my wig on, and then I am out the door before I can second-guess myself. My legs shake as I make my way to the red room, hoping and praying that the man is at least somewhat attractive to make it easier on me. I stop at the door and then take a deep breath, reminding myself that I am the one in control, and this man can't touch me if I don't want him to, and I sure as hell don't want a man to touch me. I open the door, straighten my shoulders, and lift my chin, and then walk in, taking only 2 steps before I stop dead in my tracks. Chapter 5. Gwen. This has got to be some fucking joke. That or the universe is trying to punish me. There, in a suit that was made to fit every inch of him, showing off just how built he has gotten in the past 6 months since I walked out of that wedding and never looked back, is Gareth Martins. For months, thoughts of him plagued me. The feel of his lips on mine, his strong arms wrapped around me, pulling me closer to him as if he couldn't stand having anything between us. Over and over that night has played in my head, making me wonder what it would be like to have a man touch me like that again. His touch had awakened some part of me that I never even knew had existed. For the first time in my life, I had wanted someone other than Luke to touch me. I'd wanted more than just the sweet kind of love I had imagined Luke would give me. I wanted unrestricted passion and undeniable chemistry. I wanted to be desired, and I wanted to have the power to make a man lose control. It is why I get a thrill working here. Why I didn't decide to just go do some sport or date random men. I didn't want to sit for hours and listen to a man try and woo me into liking him. I wanted a man to sit at the edge of his chair, craving me. I didn't want to pretend like I was interested in his life, or what he does for a living, and how good he can provide for me. None of that showed me how good he will be able to make me feel with nothing but a simple kiss.
I paid for a lap dance, not just to have you staring at me, darling.
His voice, deep and filled with lust, is what gets me out of my head and back into the present. The fact that he called me darling and not Gwyneth has me hoping that he didn't recognize me underneath the wig and all that makeup. It would make sense that he doesn't recognize me. For starters, he would never have imagined finding me in a place like this, so maybe he just thinks that I look similar to the girl he knew. I suck in a breath and then force my body to move, force myself to pretend like I don't know him, and he is just another stranger that will want me, but can't have me. He won't be allowed to touch me, even if I don't give him permission to do so. I can do this. Fuck, even I know that is a lie. I ignore the trembling in my hands and focus on the music, swaying my hips as I try to get lost in it, and for a moment I think that I can, but as soon as I come close enough to touch him, his scent pulls me back to the fact that this is the man that I hate with every fiber of my being, and if he has figured out that this is me, he would have probably already told Luke that I am here, and a stripper no less. You don't know that he knows, so stop worrying and get the dance over with. I give myself a little pep talk, trying to get my head in the game. I move around the chair, tracing my hand over his shoulders while I sway my hips to the music. Gareth sits back, spreading his legs wider, as if daring me to get between them. A thrill shoots through my body, and I accept the challenge. Moving to his front and slowly getting on my knees, my hips constantly moving, showing him what he gave up when he humiliated me, when he spilled the secret I had been holding on to for most of my life, when he ruined the only friendship I ever truly had. Instead of being afraid, I feel empowered, greedy, and fucking pissed off. The fact that I am between his legs, on my knees, doesn't make me feel weak or less. It makes me feel like I am in control. A goddess tempting the gods. I smile when I see his hands tighten on the armrests, his back going straighter. He is just as affected as I am, even if he doesn't realize who I am. I hear his groan over the music when I move my body up against him, rubbing myself against his hard cock, and I can't hold back my smirk even if I tried. As I move up, the gown slips off, the silk easily sliding off and landing on a puddle on the floor. Gareth sucks in a breath, and I might just get addicted to the sound of it. So I try to get him to do it again. I have always loved my full breasts, but until a few months ago, I never showed off my body. Too aware of the rest of me. I am not a small woman. I have curves that I used to be ashamed of, but since I walked in here 4 months ago, I have come to love every inch of my body, and learned to use it to make men drool to get a taste. I no longer feel the need to hide behind layers of clothes that were far too big for me, but not anymore. I look up at Gareth, my eyes locking onto his as he looks down at me, and I am shocked at the hunger I see there, but also the pure hatred. I start to move away, knowing there is no way that he doesn't know that this is me. But before I can even move an inch, he wraps his arm around my waist, lifting me up and pulling me to him. His other hand rips off my wig, and I know that it is all over. By tomorrow morning, Luke will know what I have become, and I know I shouldn't care, but that innocent little girl inside of me is still worried that he will hate me, even if I haven't spoken to him in months, not since his wedding.
Did you really think I wouldn't find you?
Gareth growls in my ear, and even though I know he is upset, my body doesn't seem to get the message, because instead of feeling scared like I know I should, my body is pulsing with so much need that I can't help but lean into him.
What a fucking slut you have become, standing here on your knees in front of me. Tell me, do you do this often with other men?
He asks, and my mind finally overrules my body's needs. Fuck you, I say, as I start to push away from him. But his hand grips my hair, pulling my head back so that I am looking him right in the eyes. You have no right to touch me. I am the one in control here, not you, I tell him, and the fucker laughs.
You have no control here, Gwyneth. You never had control,
he says, and I have had enough. I lift myself up, getting off my knees and lifting my leg, ready to put my knee on his fucking balls. But he knows what I am planning, and quickly clamps his legs against mine, making it impossible for me to move to do what I had planned.
I never knew you were such a slut. If I knew you liked throwing yourself at men, I never would have kissed you,
he says, and I snap. Rage so pure that I can't see past it overtakes me. You fucking asshole, I shout at him, but my rage doesn't even faze him. I thrash my body and Gareth groans again. I realize that as I am trying to get away from him, I'm rubbing against his hard-on, and my body and mind goes to war. It is fucked up that this is turning me on. That feeling him hard against me is even making me hesitated.
Stop fucking moving or I will enjoy taking what you are offering,
he says, and I stop fighting altogether. What am I offering? All you pay for is a show. My body was never on the table, and it never will be. You lost your chance when you stole my first kiss and then humiliated me in front of a room full of family and friends. You lost whatever chance you had when you said the only reason you were kissing me in the first place was because you had too much to drink. Tell me, did you have too much to drink tonight? Is that why you were so fucking hard and desperate that you went as far as paying $2,000 just to have me dance for you? I ask him, my rage slowly fading and turning into something far more dangerous. I know he didn't have too much to drink because I can't smell a lick of alcohol on him. No, his breath smells like mint and a bit of something I can't really place. There's no alcohol in his breath, so I know he is hard purely because he is a man, craving a woman, and that woman just turns out to be me.
Chapter 6. Gareth. I came out tonight to take a client out for drinks in the hopes that he will sign over his company. His company is close to failing and he knows it, yet he has been a hard-ass, taking his damn time to sign the contract. I was hoping to get a few drinks into him and loosen him up, and a strip club was right up his alley, seeing as he was a sleazeball that thinks women are made to do nothing more than entertain. At first, I don't even realize that it was Gwen on the stage. Didn't expect to ever see Miss Goody Two-Shoes in a place like this, never mind on the fucking stage. I was far too interested in convincing Mallory to sign the fucking contract. But then he stopped talking, and if his mouth wasn't attached to his face, it would have fallen off. I had to see what had pulled his attention from me, and my own mouth nearly dropped to the floor. She was barely dressed and covered in makeup. The stupid blonde wig did nothing to hide who she is. I honestly never knew that she was hiding beneath all those layers of clothes until the wedding. But not even that could have prepared me for the sight of her in nothing but high heels and a piece of black lace. I was surprised at the amount of jealousy and rage I felt at the thought that other men were looking at her. But the need to claim her is what scared me. For months, I haven't heard a word from her. She had ignored all my calls as well as Luke's, even went as far as moving out of her apartment into a new firm. I felt like shit for what I did to her. I knew she was far too good for me, and all I would do was ruin her. But here she is, taking her clothes off and clearly thriving on the attention the men are giving her as they lust after her. It took everything in me not to beat the shit out of every man in here for simply looking at what is mine. The second her show was over, I'd called the waiter and requested a private lap dance, knowing that I had to get her alone, and I also knew she wouldn't simply talk to me. Mallory thought I was getting a lap dance for him, but I quickly shut that down, and also lost the opportunity I had of getting him to sign that contract, but I don't fucking care. When an older woman came to me and told me that Melody, stupid made-up name but just as sweet and innocent as she used to be, refused to dance for me, and I had to choose someone else, I offered up more money than I had any business offering and told her to ask again. When the woman came back with a smile on her face, I knew I had an end. Now I just had to try my best not to fuck it up. I told myself that I was only doing this for Luke, to make sure that she is all right, even though it is clear that she isn't, not if she is here. Does she need money? That is the only sensible reason for why the innocent Gwen would ever step foot in this place. She must be in some deep shit, and for the first time I am worried that something really terrible happened to have her in a place like this. I was taken into a room that was labeled the Red Room, and there I was left to wait in a chair. The second the door opened, my entire body became aware of her, like a magnet being drawn to its other half, and I couldn't take my eyes off her even if I tried, which I didn't. Once again, She had that blonde wig on, and my hands itched to rip it off. I wanted to wipe off her makeup and have the real Gwen in front of me, but I knew the rules, and I wasn't allowed to touch her. It is clear that she didn't realize that I was the one that booked the lap dance, and I found some pleasure in her shock. But then I opened my mouth. I paid for a lap dance, not just to have you staring at me, darling. She quickly straightened up and then started to move towards me, pretending like she didn't know me. But I can tell by the way she is moving that she knows exactly who I am. But she is hoping I can't see past the makeup or the wig. Gwen moves around me, and the second her hand landed on my shoulder, I had to force my body to relax and not tighten up at such a simple touch. I knew I should have just told her to stand on the other side of the room while I tried to talk to her, find out why she is here and why she was refusing to talk to Luke. But seeing her in neck-breaking heels, and just a simple gown that didn't leave anything to the imagination, I couldn't do it. I needed her touch, needed to feel her against me. Thoughts of the kiss we shared ran through my mind, and I was fucking hard before she was even on her knees. When she rubbed up against me and looked me right in the eyes, I felt lust and hatred war inside me. I didn't hate her. I hated the fact that I couldn't control my body when she was this close. I hated Luke for being my best friend, because if he weren't, I would have found a way to have her bent over and fucked the second she walked into this room. When she started to pull away from me, I couldn't stop myself from reaching out and pulling her against me. Couldn't resist pulling off that ridiculous wig and wrapping her beautiful red hair in my fist. Fuck, I'd never wanted a woman this bad in my life, and that pissed me off even more, because I knew I could never have her. It is because of that anger that I wouldn't stop the shit coming out of my mouth. Every time she wiggled to try to get away, she would rub against me, and I need her to stop. Because if she keeps moving like that, I will stop caring about what is right and what is wrong. Stop fucking moving or I will enjoy taking what you are offering, I say through clenched teeth, and her body tenses, but she finally fucking stops.
What am I offering? All you paid for is a show. My body was never on the table, and it never will be. You lost your chance when you stole my first kiss and then humiliated me in front of a room full of family and friends. You lost whatever chance you had when you said the only reason you were kissing me in the first place was because you had too much to drink. Tell me, did you have too much to drink tonight? Is that why you are so fucking hard and desperate that you went as far as paying $2,000 just to have me dance for you?
The only words of her entire speech that get stuck in my head is the fact that she said I stole her first kiss. I must have misunderstood. There is no way that the kiss we shared at the wedding was her first kiss. She's 22 years old. How the hell was that her first kiss? I was your first kiss? I ask her, and she throws her head back and laughs.
Yeah, for the slut you make me out to be. That was my first kiss. My only fucking kiss. Regardless of where I work or the fact that I fucking spend my nights stripping in front of men, she says, and then in my moment of shock, I loosen my grip on her, and she uses that moment to get away from me. Or she tries. But just before she is out of my reach, I grab onto her again. How the hell am I supposed to believe that when you are spending your nights in a place like this? Sure, I can believe I was her first kiss, but I sure as hell haven't been her last. Look, believe what you want to believe. If it makes you feel better about the way you treated me, then go ahead.
But I am done here.
I am due to go on stage again soon, and I need to get ready,
she says. There's no fucking way she's going back out there. You are not stripping in front of a room filled with men again. Do you have any fucking idea what game you are playing at? I ask her, furious that she would ever risk herself like this. This is not who you are, Gwyneth.
Oh, stop that bullshit. You have no idea who I am. I am not out here risking my life. I'm out here enjoying myself. I love the attention I am getting, and knowing that not one of those men out there will even dare set a hand on me. I am safer on that stage than I will ever be in a room alone with you. At least I fucking know what those men out there want. With you, I have no fucking clue what is going on in your head. You have no say over me. Never had. Now your time is up, and I am leaving. And if you dare pull me back again, I will press the panic button that is right behind your chair, and you will be out of here faster than you can pull out of your wallet. I'm fucking done here, she says. And I know she doesn't mean just done here in this room with me, but she is done with me and Luke, and the life she had before that wedding. I will let you go now, but we are not done. I am far from done with you, I tell her. And it is not a threat, it is a promise. And by the flash of anger in her eyes, I know she understands.
You are wasting your time, she says, and then she sways her hips as she walks away from me out the door.
Chapter 7. Gwen. My body hurts, and my head is killing me, but I force my body out of bed. I am exhausted after 3 shows and the time I spent with Gareth last night. Thank fuck I decided to do my first solo dances on a Friday and not on a Saturday night, and not during a work day. That gives me the day to ponder on what the fuck I'm going to do about Gareth, and if I should bother trying to call Luke and try to explain myself. Fuck, this really isn't a headache I need right now. I have been doing just fine for the past 6 months. I have finally gotten over my hurt and embarrassment, and I have moved on, made my own choices, and started a life that doesn't have any space for my past. My phone rings, making me groan, the noise making my headache worse. I quickly answer the phone, pressing a hand to my temple and try to get some relief from the pain. Gwen speaking, I say in greeting, wondering who the hell calls on Saturday at 7:30 in the damn morning.
Gwen, it's Michelle.
Hearing her voice has me sitting up straight, ignoring my headache. Michelle has been my mother's nurse for the past 5 months, and whenever she calls, it is never good news. When we found out my mother has brain cancer, we knew she didn't have long, and we tried to make the best of the time she had left. At first, my mother was ready to just spend her time with her daughter, and as much as I hated that she wasn't willing to fight the cancer, I knew that it wasn't my choice to make. Brain cancer isn't just something you come back from, and seeing as my mother had never really been the same since my father died 8 years ago, and my mother said she was more than ready to be with her husband again, I didn't push her to go for treatment. 5 months ago, she decided that she wanted to fight the cancer. I took her to the doctor the day after she told me she was ready to fight, and the doctor had started on her trials a week later. So far, my mother has had her bad days, but she has also had great days. She is truly fighting this monster, and I am proud of her. Sometimes I feel guilty for not being right there with her, but we had both decided that if she was going to fight it, she couldn't have me hovering over her at every corner. My mother had made her house a home for 2 other patients suffering from brain cancer that had traveled to California for their treatments. I love the bond that she has formed with Daisy and Rachel, but I fear that if one of these women died because of cancer, my mother will lose hope, and I'm not ready for my mother to lose hope, not when it seems like her treatments are working. Every time I answer the phone and find Michelle on the other side, my heart stops, and I wonder if this is the last call I will get. If this is where she tells me that my mother didn't wake up from her nap, or that she stopped breathing. How can I help? I ask her, my throat tight, making it hard to say anything more. Dear, I think it is best that you come to the hospital. Your mother had a stroke this morning, and it doesn't look good, she says, and my heart sinks. This is what I was hoping to never hear, but I knew it was coming. She is stable right now, but it doesn't look like she is going to make it through the night, Michelle says, and I can feel tears stream down my face as I nod, but then I realize that she can't see me. I will be there in an hour, I tell her, and then end the call. I get in a shower and put the temperature so hot that my skin is blood red by the time I get out of the shower 20 minutes later. I know I should probably rush, but it is like my mind can't comprehend time at the moment. I stand in front of the fogged-up mirror for a few minutes and take in my distorted reflection. Tears have been streaming down my face non-stop, but I haven't stopped to actually acknowledge them. I refuse to just accept that she is gone before she's actually gone. But I know I will need to make a few calls that I really don't want to make. I might not have spoken to Luke in the past 6 months, but I know he would want to know about my mother, and I know my mother would want me to know. I make my way out of the bathroom and find some comfortable clothes to wear, knowing I will be at the hospital for a while. And I pick up my phone and make the call I dreaded to make. Luke answers in the second ring. Fuck, Gwen. I've been wondering when I would ever hear from you again, Luke says, and hearing his voice is what makes me fall apart. Baby, what's wrong? He asks. Hearing the old fucking nickname just makes another crack in my armor. My sobs come out harder, and I really try so hard to hold it in, to hold myself together, but every sob forces its way past my lips. Mom, I choke out. It's my mom. I finally got past my lips. Where are you? He asks, and I can hear the pain in his voice. He loves my mother like his own, and I know he has been visiting her the past 6 months,
My mom kept telling me how worried he was, and how bad he felt about the fact that he didn't even realize that I had feelings for him. I didn't care that he wanted to see her. She needed the company, but I refused to be stuck in a life where I was moping around after my best friend while he had someone else in his arms. I wanted to make sure that I felt nothing for him by the time I saw him again, but now I will have to face him far before I am ready. I am going to the hospital now. They told me to come say goodbye. I thought you should know, I tell him, and then end the call, not waiting for him to say anything else. I need to pull myself together and get to my mother. Maybe if I am there, she will find a way to pull through. It takes me 15 minutes to get to the hospital and 5 minutes to find my mom's room. I stand at the door to her room for a minute, trying to prepare myself for what I'm going to see, but I realize I will never be ready to see my mother die. So instead of delaying longer, I walk into the room and stop when I see my mother lying on the bed. There are tubes attached to her and a heart monitor measuring every beat of her heart. I don't need to be a doctor to know that her heartbeat is too slow. I try to remember how my mother looked before the cancer, before my father passed away. I try to remember her smile before it was laced with sadness. I try to remember her eyes before it had lost its spark. But it is hard to remember the sound of her laugh when I am looking at how fragile she has become. She doesn't have any of her beautiful red hair, thanks to the chemo. Her skin has lost its golden glow and has turned into a translucent white. Where she had curves, there is nothing more than skin and bones now. The strong woman that used to dance with me in the kitchen while we cooked, the woman that used to stand next to the netball field and jumped up and down as I made the goal, she was no longer here. I take a seat next to her bed and take her thin hand in mine and just watch her, wondering how I missed how thin she had gotten. Guilt starts to eat at me as I think about all the time I have wasted by not being by her side the past few months. I know we had both agreed that I needed to keep living my life, and she needed to fight this her way, but I should have fought her on that. I should have told her that I would stay until she was in the clear. I should have been there. Glenn? My mother's voice pulls me out of my head, and relief slams so hard into me that I let out a laugh at the sight of her blue eyes. Mom, I say as I wrap my arms around her. Oh, my baby girl. Her arms don't wrap around me, but she does press her head into me. When she talks, it is like it is taking everything in her to get her lungs to hold enough breath, to get the words out, and I hate to hear her like this. Baby, I need you to listen to me, my mother says, and I shake my head. I know what is coming, and I don't want to hear it. Baby, please. I can feel my tears begin to stream down my face again, but I force myself back in my chair, knowing that I will be wasting precious time by refusing her this. I am not going to make it, she begins, and I shake my head. I knew this is where she was going to go, but I don't want to hear it. No, you said you were going to fight, so don't you dare give up, I tell her. I have fought my turn and lost. I can't do this anymore. Baby, I can hear his voice. I can hear your father calling to me, and I know that doesn't make sense to you, and you probably think that I have gone insane, but I am not. I want to go home. I don't want to fight anymore. I am so tired, she says, and a sob leaves me. I will always be there for you, my baby. I will always look over you, but you have to let me go, she says, and I shake my head. I love you, my baby girl, she says softly, and I look up to find her eyes closing slowly. No, please don't go, Mom. I'm not ready. Please don't leave me, I tell her, but she shakes her head. It is time, baby, she says, but I keep shaking my head. When her eyes close, they don't open again, and my whole world falls apart. Chapter 8. Gwen. By the time Luke makes it to the hospital, my mother has been taken off the monitors, and the tubes have been removed. Her time of death was confirmed at 10:15, and I have been standing here, looking at her, slowly falling apart by myself. She looks like she is sleeping. No blood pouring out of her to show that wound killed her. Luke walks into the room at 10:30 and stops the second he sees me standing there. I don't have to look at him.
I see the pain in his eyes, and honestly, I don't want to look at him. I don't want to see pity, because that will just make this harder. "Gwen, I'm so sorry," he says, and wraps his arms around me. My body tenses and I stand there, refusing to wrap my arms around him. I told him more than an hour ago that my mother was here. He stays 5 minutes from the hospital, and still, it took him more than an hour to get here. I know he probably has his reasons for not being here, but I don't care. Instead of standing there in his embrace, I turned away from my mother and pushed Luke away from me. "Say your goodbyes. I will be outside," I told him. Luke reaches for me, but I step out of his reach. "Don't touch me. I don't need you to try and comfort me. I don't need you to be here for me. I called you because she needed you, and she would have wanted you here," I tell him, still not looking at him. I don't want to see how much he has changed. I don't want to know if his blonde hair has grown longer. I don't want to know if he still has the same soft brown eyes. I don't want to risk another crack in my armor. I walked out of the room and walked right into another body. I look up and find Gareth standing there, his arms on my shoulders to steady me, and the small touch has my body lighting up. "What are you doing here?" I ask him, furious that he is here after last night, angry at my heart for skipping a beat at the sight of him, when it did nothing when I saw Luke. I looked back down at the floor, afraid that he would see just how much I liked his touch by simply looking into my eyes. "Look at me, Red," he says softly, his usual hostility gone, and I almost want to beg him to bring it back. I could handle his anger, could handle his sarcasm and his rudeness. What I can't handle is the sympathy in his voice. "Please, look at me," he says, taking a sledgehammer to what was left of my armor. How could anyone refuse him when he begs? I look up at him and he grabs my chin, keeping my head up and my eyes locked on his. His eyes search mine, and mine searches his. I have never seen Gareth look at me with such soft eyes. No anger or distaste in them, and when he wraps his arm around me, pulling me into his chest, I break down. His arms tighten around me when my knees give out, and then he picks me up and holds my head against his neck, making me feel like I am being hidden from the world. I don't see where he carries me, just feel his legs moving, but I don't care where we are going. I just need to get out of here. I feel the cold air hit my back, and a minute later I hear a car door opening before it closes again, and the cold air can no longer touch me. "Look at me," he says again, and I force my head to lift and turn to him. I suck in a breath as I take in his blue eyes, so much different from Luke's light brown eyes. Gareth's eyes reminded me of the unstable sea, changing with his moods, the color going from light to dark, from happy to pissed off in seconds. His eyes are now dark, but filled with concern. "You did everything you could for her. You stood by her wishes and you did what she needed you to do. There is nothing you could have done differently to make her stay here longer," he says. And for a moment I am stunned into silence. How did he know that I was fighting my guilt? How did he know just what to say when I didn't even voice it out loud? "She is gone," is all I can get out, and with those words it finally sinks in. My mother isn't just sleeping in a bed. She is dead, and she will never open her eyes again, never smile at me again. I will never hear her voice again, never feel her hugs. My mother is gone, just like my father, and I am left alone in this world. "She is gone," I say again, and I swear I can see tears in Gareth's eyes, but he pulls my head back into the curve of his neck, and I wonder if I was just imagining it. "I know, baby, I know," he says, rubbing circles on my back with one hand while the other cradles my neck. I never thought that Gareth could be gentle, at least not to me, but here he is, giving me the comfort I had refused from my best friend. I don't know how long we sit there, but at some point my breathing slows down and the pain in my chest turns into a painful throb, and my head begins to clear. Reality comes flooding back into this bubble of warmth and comfort, and memories of last night come flooding back in. "Did you tell him?" I ask him, and his body tenses beneath me. "No," he says, but his body doesn't relax beneath me. I start to push my body up, but Gareth tightens his grip on me. "Don't," he says through clenched teeth. Not yet, he says, and I don't have the energy to fight against him. Instead, I stayed in his arms until we heard a knock on the window. Gareth sighs, but opens up the window.
What the hell are you guys doing?
Luke says, clearly annoyed, and it feels like déjà vu. I turn my head to look up at Luke, his eyes furious, but there's also sadness and betrayal there. I am not quite sure why he would feel betrayed, but at this point I really don't give a shit. Luke takes a deep breath, closes his eyes, and then lets the air out of his lungs in a rush.
There are papers you need to sign, and the lawyer is here to talk with you regarding your mother's wishes. I have been looking for you two for the past 2 hours, he said, and I sat up so fast that I knocked my head against Gareth's chin. He groans in pain, but helps me open the door to climb out of the car. For a moment, I am blinded by the sun, my eyes so sensitive from crying that it hurts to open them. It pisses me off that the sun is shining, and then everyone is moving on with their lives, smiling and laughing while my world has been turned upside down. But that is the thing about life. It will always keep moving even when you are standing still. This world doesn't need us to turn or to circle the sun. In the grand scheme of things, we don't mean much to this world. But my mother meant a lot to me, and she meant so much to those 2 women that she had helped support. My mother might not have meant a lot to the world, but she has touched so many lives, and I vow to always remember that. I lift my head and force my back straight, and then I walk back into the hospital and ignore the 2 men behind me as I prepare myself for what is to come. I won't have a chance to break down again for a while, and I'm thankful that Gareth gave me that safe place to hide and fall apart. But that is over now. Until my mother's affairs are sorted out, I will need to be strong for her. For the next hour, I sit with the lawyer and go through my mother's will. She wants to be cremated, and I knew that already. But it seems like my mother had planned her own funeral, going into detail about what she wants to wear and what flowers she wants, what church she wants, and the ceremony to take place. I know my mother planned everything to make it easier on me, but it saddens me that she had known that she wasn't going to make it, and yet she had done everything in her power to give me hope. She had fought because she wanted to give me a little more time to prepare for the day that she is no longer here. She is my best friend. I am the one who should give her comfort, not you.
I hear Luke in the hallway, clearly trying to whisper a shout, but sound travels in a place like this, and I'm sure that everyone in this hallway can hear him.
Where were you the past 6 months when she needed you? Don't come here with your horse shit now,
Gareth replies, and I am shocked to hear the venom in his voice.
I tried contacting her. She was the one who wouldn't answer the phone,
Luke argues.
You know I tried,
he says, but Gareth laughs.
You didn't try. You gave up. Tell me, did you bother showing up at her work with an apology? Did you bother sitting in front of her apartment for hours and wait to come home? You didn't even bother to visit her mother in the past 6 months. Go didn't even try to do more than pick up the phone and make a 2-minute call twice a day and make it look like you fucking cared about her,
Gareth says. And now I know for a fact that they have no idea that I can hear them. I also know that Gareth is talking shit because my mother told me about Luke and what he is going through every time I came to visit. She wouldn't know all those things if he wasn't there to tell her, right?
I have been busy, and you know that. I have my wife to support and a company to run. She didn't want me to come to her, and I fucking told you to stay away from her mother,
Luke shouts, completely forgetting to try and keep it down. Gareth went to my mother? He was the one that visited her? Am I in some alternate universe?
Her mother already had enough on her plate, and I didn't want to add to her worries, and I didn't want to upset Gwen any more than you already had. I am in this fucking fucked up situation because of you.
What the actual hell is going on here?
Keep telling yourself that. You just keep making excuses for why you were all too happy to watch her leave. You were grateful that she didn't bother to pick up the phone, because it would make her look like the bad guy that walked out on you instead of admitting that you were happy to finally move on with your life without having to constantly feel guilty because you couldn't return her feelings. You put in the bare minimum, and you have done so for years, but she is too fucking blinded by her hopes and dreams and her stupid heart to see that you never really cared about her. You just loved the fact that you had someone that was so dependent on you. But then Gwen left, and you didn't have someone to beg for your attention, and you knew she no longer needed you to be happy, and you found someone else who made you feel like a superhero, and Gwen was all but forgotten. The only reason you even pretended that you were happy to have her back was because now you had 2 women that was begging for your love, and that you put on some kind of fucking high. But you couldn't handle seeing her in my arms, could you? Couldn't handle seeing another man take away what you thought belonged to you. You would rather have her alone and cut off from everyone she loves than to see her with anyone else.
Every word that Jeanre says hurts, but I am again reminded of the sad, pathetic fool that I was, running after a man that would never be mine. I don't think that Gareth is right about everything, but maybe he isn't too far off. Luke could have put in far more effort to make things right between us. I mean, if I understood correctly, Gareth was the one to visit my mother and tell her everything, and he was the one that left me the roses and the apologies, and he was the one that left my favorite take-always on my doorstep in sealed containers once a week for 6 weeks, each with a small note attached to it. I never bothered to read the notes because I expected it to be another apology that I didn't want to read. I never expected any of that to come from Gareth. But I know I shouldn't read more into it than what it really is. He felt bad for what he did, and he should. But I can appreciate that he went through all that effort, and I can forgive him for his part in my embarrassment. But that doesn't mean I will ever allow either of them back into my life. No. As soon as my mother is cremated and the ceremony is over, I will be gone, and I won't look back. I refuse to be taken for a fool, ever again. Chapter 9. Gareth. I stand to the side and watch Gwen as she smiles at the guests, accepting their condolences. Luke is standing right next to her, holding an arm around her shoulder to give her support, and it takes everything in me not to walk up to them and rip his arm away from her. The only thing that is keeping that thin thread of sanity stable is the fact that I can see the glares Gwen gives him whenever no one is watching. She isn't happy that he is trying to give her comfort, but she is trying to put a fake face on for her mother one last time. After the last guest leaves, Gwen shakes off Luke's hold and then fully glares at him. I wonder if they even realize that I am still standing in the corner of her apartment, nursing the same drink I had since I walked in here 5 hours ago. I wonder if she could feel my eyes on her, or if she can even feel my presence the same way I can feel her when she walks into a room. "What is wrong?" Luke asks Gwen, startled by her hostility. Fucker didn't even realize that she had been glaring at him the entire time. "Stop pretending to care about me. Go back home to Abigail and give her the fucking life she deserves. I am done here," she says, and Luke takes a step back as if offended. "What the hell did I do wrong? I have been waiting here for the past 6 months for you to talk to me. I have been nothing but supportive the past 3 days, and this is how you react? What happened to my best friend?" he says, working those sad eyes of his. Please, God, don't let her be manipulated further by him. At one time, his charms worked on me as well, and I had fallen for every line and every lie, and I did it for 3 years. Fucking built an empire with this man. It is only when Gwen walked back into his life that I realized what a manipulative ass this man is. I will give it to him. His charms has won us plenty clients, and helped turn our company into a multi-million-dollar company in 4 years, making us some of the youngest millionaires in California. But it is only because of Gwen that I realized he doesn't just manipulate clients into investing in our projects or struggling companies to sell at next to nothing, but he has been using it on everyone in his life. His parents, his wife, his lifelong best friend, and me. For the past 2.5 years, I have been considering walking away, starting my own company rather than staying in a partnership with Luke. But every single time I have thought about leaving, I keep thinking about Gwen. And for some reason, I just couldn't fucking leave her. And still can't, and it infuriates me. Instead of being a normal person and just telling Gwen that her best friend and the man she has been in love with most of her life is nothing but a snake, I've kept my mouth shut, and instead took out my frustration on her. In the beginning, I was just pissed that she couldn't see him for what he was, but soon I realized that I was falling for someone that will always love someone else, and, well, that all just made me a rude, sarcastic asshole. Then the wedding happened, and for the first time, I thought that maybe I was wrong, and she could love someone else. But the moment that Luke interrupted, I fell back on old habits and ruined it. Your best friend? That girl you took pleasure in knowing that she would always be your backup plan, or the one that made you feel needed? The girl that did everything for you? The one that cleaned up all your messes and then stood back when you broke her heart again and again while sleeping around with other women? The girl who fucking planned on arranged your wedding day because you couldn't give two shits about helping your wife plan the happiest day of her life? Are we talking about that, best friend? Because here's the thing. If that is the girl you want, I am sorry to tell you, but she is long fucking gone, buddy,
Gwen says, and I can't help but smile with pride. Is that really what you think of me? That I used you? Luke asks, and I want to roll my eyes. Of course that is what she thinks, and with good reason.
You know, I felt bad for walking away from you. Felt bad for not answering your texts or calls. And then there were the roses that were sent to me and the dinners left on my stairs. And I wanted to come back, but I knew that I needed to grow if I was ever going to be able to watch you love someone else.
Gwen starts, but Luke interrupts her, and I take a step closer when he shouts at her. I never fucking loved anyone else. I only fucking loved you, but I never knew how you felt, and every move I made on you, you just kept telling me that I'm your best fucking friend. So I moved on after you left, and then I tried again when you came back. Gwen takes a step back, but Luke grabs her face in his hands and slams his lip to hers. I start to move, ready to pull him off her and beat the shit out of him, but Gwen moves faster, lifting her knee and kicking him so hard in the balls that I know he will feel it for a few days. He falls to his knees, cupping his balls as he looks up at Gwen with tears in his eyes. What the fuck, Gwen? His face is red, and spit flies from his mouth, and I can honestly say that I've never seen him look this fucking ugly.
You never fucking loved me, and anyone with two damn fucking eyes could see that. I was in love with you. I thought you might feel the same, but I was stupid and naive. Every time you saw that I was pulling away because I couldn't handle seeing you with another woman, you dumped her and then gave me hope, only to run after some other girl. When I went to London, I thought that you would wait for me. I thought that you would finally be ready to settle down when I came back, and you kept that hope alive with your texts and video calls, and then I'd come back only to realize how stupid I had been. You had Abigail, and I couldn't fucking blame you because I wasn't there. But you know what? I should have blamed you instead of myself, because you played me. You knew me inside and out, and you knew just what to do to keep me around. But I am done. I am so fucking done being there to boost your fucking ego. I'm done being your doormat. Now get the fuck out of my house, or I will kick you in the balls over and over again until you have no other choice but to crawl to the nearest fucking hospital. She shouts at him. And fuck me, but she has never been more beautiful than she is right now. Luke says something under his breath, but he gets up, glares at me over his shoulder, and then walks out. Well, I guess he didn't like the fact that I was here to see the show. Good thing I had been putting away every penny I could, because there was no way I would be able to go back to working with him after that. For a moment, Gwen just stands there, looking at the door, where Luke had just walked out of, and then she turns her eyes to me. I don't know what I started to say, but I point at the door and then give her a little wave before I start to make my way out. Thank you,
Gwen says as I reach the door, and I stopped and turned to look at her. For what? I asked. Fuck, she looks breathtaking, standing there in her black lace dress, her hair hanging down her back in loose curls, lips painted blood red. Her big green eyes stare up at me, and it's like I am pulled towards her, taking a step closer without even thinking about it. For what, Red? I ask her again when she stays quiet.
For the dinners, and the flowers, and for being there for my mother,
she says, and my heart clenches at the mention of Maddie. For the past 6 months, I have been visiting her 4 times a week, playing poker and trying to find ways to make her laugh. I knew Luke wouldn't bother to visit the woman that had been there for him when his own parents were too busy for him, so I went instead. I asked Maddie not to tell Gwen about the fact that I was the one visiting her. I didn't want Gwen to feel like I was overstepping. In the past 6 months, I'd gotten to know the woman that had raised Gwen, and a bond was created between the two of us. She had asked me to take care of Gwen if she wasn't able to beat the cancer, and I had promised her I would, and I will find a way to keep that promise.
Why didn't you tell me that you were the one there for her?
She asks. I didn't really get the chance, and the night at the club, Gwen flinches at the mention of the other night before her mother passed. Well, I was horny as fuck and pissed off at seeing other men look at you, and well, one thing led to the other, and I acted like a complete asshole. I tell her with a shrug. I didn't even realize I was walking closer to her, until I was standing so close to her that I could feel the heat of her body against mine. Gwen tilts her head all the way back to look at me, and my eyes fall to her soft lips. Cock hardens at the sight of her lips and the way her eyes gloss over, and I know I have the same effect on her as she has on me when her breath hitches. "Can I kiss you?" I ask her, my voice soft but commanding, and I feel like I might just fucking die if I can't have another taste of her.
Please?
She begs, and I slam my lips against hers.
Chapter 10. Gwen. I should stop this. Push him away and tell them I am leaving and I can't go further. But damn it, I want this. I want him. Gareth wraps a hand in my hair, pulling my head back to get better access to my mouth. And the slightest sting on my scalp is like an electric shock to my entire system. It is like every part of me is aware of him, knowing exactly where we are touching and where we are not. The parts of me that are not touching him are aching for the contact. I decide that I will worry about the consequences tomorrow, but right now, I need him, and I am not leaving until I have him, all of him. I grab onto his shoulders and I use it to lift myself up, wrapping my legs around him and pressing my body against his, trying to get as close to him as humanly possible. His hard cock presses against my core, and we both moan at the contact. Gareth pulls his lips from mine, and I try to follow him, but the fist in my hair keeps me firmly in place.
"We need to stop,"
he groans, but I can see in his eyes that he really doesn't want to. Stop trying to do what you think is the right thing to do. I need you to take me to bed and ruin me, I tell him, and I can see that war in his mind. He is trying to do the honorable thing, but I am so done waiting for the right man or the right time. There is no one I would rather spend my first time with than Gareth. I want you, Gareth. I need it to be with you, I say, the last part softer, begging him with my eyes. Please? That word seems to be his kryptonite, because a second later his lips are back on mine, and he is moving us towards my room. My back bumps into a wall, and Gareth mumbles a sorry between kisses, but he doesn't stop, and I'm thankful for that. His lips are possessive and hungry, and so fucking perfect, and for a moment I'm afraid that if I go down this road, I will never recover from the aftermath. But then my back hits my bed, and Gareth is moving his hips between my legs, rubbing his cock against my aching center, and all thought flies out the window. Gareth starts lifting my dress, pulling on it frantically as he tries to get it past my hips, and I chuckle as I lift my hips off the bed to help him. Just before he pulls the dress past my breasts, he stops again and pulls away, and I want to growl in frustration.
"If you have any doubt about this, we need to stop now, because I don't think I will be able to hold back. Fuck, I'm hardly holding on by a thread here, so I need to know that you are sure about this, and that you won't regret this in the morning,"
he says, and my heart clenches. For a second, I can imagine waking up next to him, finding him wrapped around me, and telling me that he wants to spend the rest of his life with me. But then I remember that this is Gareth, and that this is purely lust. There is no love lost between us, and there never will be, and my romantic heart needs to take a back seat because it has gotten me into enough trouble already. I know Gareth will make this memorable, and I want that for my first time. I know he will take care of me and not be a selfish prick that just takes what he wants. I have no doubts, Gareth. I want you, and I'm not backing out. I am not doing this in the hopes that I can get back at Luke. I am not doing this because I am having a mental breakdown. I want you, I tell him, looking him right in the eyes so that he knows that I am not trying to bullshit either of us, and that seems to do a trick. My dress is practically ripped from my body, but where Gareth was rushed and desperate just a minute ago, he is now taking his time, taking his fill of my body as he looks down at me.
"You are so fucking beautiful it hurts,"
he says, and then his mouth is on my breast, sucking my nipple through the lace of my bra. My back arches off the bed as pleasure rushes through my body, and my nails dig into his back. The rough material of my bra adds friction to my nipples as Gareth sucks and bites before moving to the other breast, giving it the same amount of attention. His hand moves up my leg, leaving a trail of goosebumps in its wake. When he reaches my underwear, he groans.
"So fucking wet already."
His voice is deep and possessive, filled with lust, and it is enough to bring me so close to orgasm that I am embarrassed at how little it takes to bring me to that point. His fingers don't go underneath my underwear like I expected, but instead, he presses his thumb onto my covered clit, and slowly he starts rubbing circles around it. Please, I beg, needing more.
What is that, Red?
He asks, a smirk on his lips as he looks up at me. Please, I beg again, and he chuckles. Fucker.
You keep saying please, but you aren't telling me what it is that you are begging for.
Really? Should I spell it out? Fine. I want you to remove your clothes and take off what is left of mine, and then I want your head between my legs so that I can finally understand the hype about having a man eat a woman out, I tell him, and his eyes widen in shock, clearly not expecting me to be so straightforward about it. He forgets that I have been working in a strip club for the past 4 months, and when I am not flaunting my sexuality, I am running around for a pain-in-the-ass lawyer who doesn't hold back or beat around the bush, and I have had to adapt to that personality if I wanted to survive longer than a week. It doesn't take long for that shock to turn into a smirk, and my mouth goes dry as I watch him stand up and then slowly remove the tie around his neck. For the first time today, I really take in how sexy Gareth looks in his light blue shirt with the sleeves rolled up to his elbows, exposing the tattoos that I usually only get to peek at, but I've never seen on full display. His hands go to his belt, and I never thought I would get so turned on by a man slowly removing something so simple. But the veins in his arms pop as he removes his belt, and then slips his shoes off. He loosens the buttons on his slacks, and then pulls down the zip. I can feel him watching me as he slowly undresses, and I swear he is doing it on purpose. Where is the man that was desperate just a few minutes ago? I need him back because I can't deal with this slow torture. He doesn't pull his pants down. He just gives me a taste of what I am really after before he moves to his shirt, loosening the buttons one at a time, exposing his chest and stomach slowly, and I think I moan out loud because he chuckles while his eyes heat up.
Is this what you wanted?
He asks, and I can feel my face heat up, but I am not embarrassed enough to tell him to stop. The last button on his shirt is undone, and the shirt falls open before he slides it down his arms. I think my mouth falls open at the sight of his exposed body. And here I thought he was gorgeous with clothes on, but without his clothes?
Breathe, Gwen.
Oh, yeah, I should breathe, right? Fuck, this man is by far the most beautiful man I have ever seen. Not that I have seen that many, but I doubt that I will ever be able to compare anyone to Gareth. Why the hell did I waste my time with Luke and completely overlook Gareth? The thought scares me, because I am worried that I won't be able to walk away from this with my heart intact. But does it matter at this point? There's no way I can walk away from him now. I know that regardless of the fact that he told me that he doesn't think he will be able to hold back, I know he would stop the second that I tell him to, but I really don't want him to stop. Gareth puts his thumbs in the waistband of his pants, and then slowly he pulls it down. If my mouth wasn't hanging open at the sight of his six-pack and those V-lines leading into his pants, or the tattoo sleeves that cover his arms, then it is most definitely hanging open at the sight of his hard cock. There is no fucking way that thing is fitting in me. No, we're not doing this, I say, as I start getting up from the bed.
Gwen, stop,
Gareth says. The command makes me stop for only a second, but then his dick twitches, pulling my attention back to it, and I shake my head. You are fucking insane if you think I'm going to allow you to rip my pussy apart with that fucking thing, I tell him, pointing to his dick.
I said stop,
Gareth growls, and my ass falls back onto the bed, my body a traitor to my own mind.
Now, spread those fucking legs for me so I can prepare you for my dick, because it will fit, Red. That fucking pussy was made for me,
he says, and again my body obeys. My legs spread open for him.
So fucking beautiful,
he says, his eyes locked on my pussy that is covered with black lace. Thank fuck I went for my wax yesterday. You have said that already? I tell him, breathless.
It is worth repeating.
He gets on his knees in front of the bed, and then grabs my ass and pulls me to the end of the bed.
Again,
he says as he hooks his thumbs into my panties.
And again.
He slowly pulls my panties down my legs.
And again,
he says, and he pulls my panties over my feet, and then looks behind him, grabs his pants off the floor and stuffs my underwear into the pocket. You always take the underwear of the women you fuck? I ask him, suddenly jealous.
Only those I want to remember,
he says, and that jealousy reaches a high that I haven't once felt with Luke. Must have a trophy room full of them then, I say under my breath.
Jealous, Red?
He asks with a smirk. Absolutely not, I lie.
Liar,
he says, seeing right through me.
This will be the first set of underwear I plan on stealing,
he says, and I know he probably says that to every woman he fucks, but I want to believe him. For some fucked up reason, I want him to remember me, just like I know I will always remember him. I want to be more than the other women he has been with, but I refuse to think about the reason behind that right now. Before I can get lost in my head, Gareth moves in, running his tongue through my slit before sucking my clit into his mouth. Holy fucking shit. This is what I had been missing out on. My eyes roll back in my head as my hands grab into Gareth's hair. I am not sure if I'm trying to pull him away or push his head harder against my pussy. He slides one finger into me, curling it up, and I know I am seconds away from exploding. A second finger joins the first, stretching me. When the third finger joins in, I explode, screaming his name.
That's it. Fuck, you are so tight,
he says, before he goes right back to sucking on my clit. I can't take another one, I tell him, as I try to close my legs, but he growls against my clit, and holy fucking shit, think I just found my new favorite sound.
You will need to come again if we want to make your first time less painful. I really don't want to hurt you, baby,
he says, and what he says makes sense. The second orgasm washes over me within seconds, and my body feels sated, but not exhausted.
Now you'll be able to take my cock,
he says as he reaches for his wallet.
Fuck, I only have one condom,
he says, looking pissed at himself.
Chapter 11. Gareth. I stretch out on the bed, a smile on my face as I search for Gwen, but the bed next to me is cold. For a moment, I wonder if last night really happened, but I can still smell her strawberry scent everywhere. There is no way I could have dreamt up last night. I might have a very vivid imagination, but not even I am that good. No, last night happened. Gwen is simply not in bed, and hasn't been for a while. I quickly sit up and look around me to see that I am still in her room. But yesterday, I didn't really take the time to look around. But now in the dim light of the morning light shining through the bedroom window, I realize that her bedroom is void of anything personal. Aside from the bed, its cream-colored bedding, the beige curtains, and the bedside tables, there is nothing else. No photos or posters or anything that I had imagined Gwen would keep around her. There are no books on the bedside table, no hairbands or perfumes. I quickly get out of bed and open her closet doors, and my stomach sinks. There is nothing in there. What the fuck is going on here? I quickly threw my pants on and put my hand in the pocket, finding the lace underwear still tucked in there. I walk out to the room, shouting her name as I go, but she doesn't answer. I make my way into the kitchen and look around, finding it clean, with nothing but a note on the counter.
Dear Gareth, I just want to thank you for last night. This is really awkward, and I don't know what to say in person, much less on a piece of paper, but all I can really say is thank you. I know this is probably strange, and you are wondering why the hell you woke up in my bed alone, and I really have no excuse other than the fact that I didn't want this to be awkward. I guess the reason I'm really writing this note is because I wanted to tell at least one person that I am leaving, and I don't think I will be coming back. There is nothing left for me here, and I'm tired of feeling stuck. I need to get out of here if I'm ever going to grow, and this is me taking a chance and trying to find out who I really am. You have opened my eyes to the world around me, and I have realized that I don't like what I see. I don't want to be known as the girl that fell in love with a man she could never have. I don't want to be known as the sad girl that lost her mother and father in tragic ways. I don't want to be remembered as the shy girl that will forever be a doormat, used but never truly wanted. I want to be remembered as the woman that was brave enough to chase her dreams, the woman that was brave and bold and never gave up. I want to be more. So, again, thank you for helping me see that I am and can be so much more. And thank you for treating me like a woman instead of some fragile girl. Thank you for being you. All my love, Gwen. Oh, and P.S. I hope you keep the underwear. I know it is silly, but I like the idea of you having some part of me and that you will remember last night. I know I will be thinking about it for a very, very long time to come.
This has got to be a fucking joke. How the hell did she pack everything last night, and how did I not wake up? Could she really have packed everything yesterday or the day before and I somehow missed it? Was I really that focused on her instead of taking in her empty apartment? I flip the note over and read it about 10 times before I lose my shit. There is no address, nothing to tell me where she is going to start this new life, no way for me to find her. After the night we had, After giving me her fucking virginity, this is how she leaves? Fuck brave and bold. Gwen is a fucking coward. She's still running away from life, and I am sick of this. Just when I think I have her, just when I think I have a fucking chance, she up and leaves. She probably thought she was just another screw. You never gave her any reason to believe otherwise. The fucking voice in my head needs to shut the fuck up. Gwen should know I don't stick around the entire night. I don't fucking cuddle, and I did both with her. She knows she is more, but clearly I'm not worth sticking around for. There is nothing left for me here, and I am tired of feeling stuck. I hope I fucking ruined her for all men. I hope she thinks about me every time a man slides between her fucking legs and tells her how good she tastes, and I fucking hope I never get to meet any of those men, because I will kill every last fucker that ever gets a taste of what is mine. She might have gotten away this time, but she will be back. There is no way that this is the end of us. I will make sure of that. Have your fun, Red, because I will come for you, one way or another. I smile as I tuck the letter into my pocket, and then return to the room to get my shirt and shoes. After getting dressed, I decide that I will keep the bed as well. She clearly doesn't need it if she left it here, and even though the bed isn't half as comfortable as mine, I know I'll have some use for it again in the near future.